All righty, X's and O's on the KFAN Minnesota Vikings radio network is in the air on the flagship for Vikings football and Vikings.com. It's Paul Allen with Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell into the Dallas Cowboys game. Kickoff right in front of 3:30 at KFAN and the Vikings radio network off a thrilling victory over Buffalo. And of course, they threw into the end zone at the end of the game against Duke Shelley. You know, because he hadn't played in the entire game, and here's 20 out there, and it's Duke Shelley, and he just hasn't played much, so there's no film on him. And all hands on deck. I've heard you say that before. That personified all hands on deck, and he came through. That's so great.
Not a surprise to me if you've been watching Duke like I have. He's been on our scout team a bunch this year. He's one of my favorite guys on this team because he loves football. This guy loves coming to work every day, prepares like he's a starter, he prepares like he's Patrick Peterson, but yet gives us great looks on that scout team, competitive, makes our receivers better, and there's no play that Duke Shelley doesn't think he's going to go out there and make, and in a critical moment we had to have it, he went out and did that.
And the DB's coach, Durante Jones, is our guest after Kevin, and Dalvin Cook told me after the game when I brought up Duke Shelley. And I know attention to detail is something very, very important here, like it is with other teams, but we just are seeing things come to fruition after being told about them in August, and it's really a beautiful thing. And Dalvin said that in his entire time here, the way the scout team and practice squad is handled, he's never seen anything like it. So that would be an attention to detail, right?
Absolutely. We want to... You know, we give awards every week to the scout team players of the week. We want those guys competing. We're huge on development, and there's no other way to develop to become a good football player than to practice football and to work on your craft, your technique, your fundamentals. And our coaches do a great job. Durante does a great job, and Roy Anderson with our DBs. I really, truly feel like that group has been maximized. Every guy we have in that room feels like at some point their number is going to get called. We've got great leadership in that room with Pat P and Harry. And I just feel like, across the board where our football team's at right now, it's a confident team, but a team that understands we've got to go back to work every single week and truly improve. And that is that skill development. That's every man on our roster. I tell them every week in the team meeting, we need everybody, every single guy sitting in one of those chairs has a value, has a role that will ultimately determine what we can become as a team.
And I ain't trying to turn this into a Billy Graham sermon or anything, but it's a metaphor for life, where if you're in a job and you don't think you count as much as some others, well, when your opportunity arrives, like Duke Shelley, come through with it, and you have no idea what the future holds. Secondary, Cam Bynum. Overall, how does he help your defense?
I think really in so many ways, the way he plays off of Harrison Smith and the way they communicate and really run the show on the back end. I think he's got a former corner skill set from a coverage standpoint when he's got to match some of the different types of wide receivers and tight ends we play against. And then ultimately, I think he's really proven, whether it's the instincts of the fumble recovery the other day, if he doesn't get tackled, against the Commanders by one of those guys in the striped shirts, I think he ultimately, probably has an interception on that play as well. Manning the deep part of the field, being an impact player, being willing to tackle in the run game. We ask a lot out of our safeties, and it's because we got two really good ones.
The 81-yard run by Dalvin Cook, I mean, it breathed life into the sideline, into the game, and into the whole game. And, Dalvin's going to get the headlines and the credit because he closed on it longest of his career, and he was super fast running away from him. But the totality of it, like Justin Jefferson and Garrett Bradbury, it's the ultimate team game. But who are some under the radar players who made that happen?
Yeah, I think it's you look at the Garrett Bradbury Ezra Cleveland combination there on the defensive tackle. Big, large, hard guy to move in there, and you see the physicality of coming together where it's all about technique. It's all about the fundamentals in that moment. We're running right behind Big CD. He's been phenomenal on those open side runs this year. Dalvin's detail of the track. Obviously, Justin Jefferson making that block, understanding the importance of, Yeah, he had a career day, huge play, maybe a catch we'll be talking about for the next 20 years around here. But it's that block that I'll remember, because that takes, when you see the best receiver in football go make that play at that moment, where there's not going to be a stat, there's not going to be a headline about that play, but ultimately it was all 11, including Justin, leading the charge right there to spring Dalvin, and then seeing him go 21.7 miles an hour down the sideline. I'd like to see that a few more times.
X's and O's, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery. Copycat league is what they say, and it's absolutely true. Any idea who invented the idea to have a player like push players on sneaks? C.J. Ham for you with Kirk, and Gabriel Davis for them with Josh when you got that touchdown. And the player doing it, are they eligible to be hit? Because, I mean, if you got wide receivers pushing quarterbacks, somebody comes along from the side, can they hit them? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that play turns into just a flat-out rugby scrum. I think everybody's fair game at that point. And, it's
but this kind of new players pushing the quarterback.
Yeah, I always think of the the Reggie Bush push on Matt Leinart, Notre Dame SC back in the day, kind of the first one I can remember. But now it's become how schematically, how creative could you be? Fly motion guy stops and pushes them. The running back. Some teams are having the quarterback leave, under center, and somebody else then take the sneak and get pushed. Yeah. But I will say, judging by standing next to Josh Allen on the field pregame, he doesn't need much of a push. I think he's every bit of about 250 pounds. So he's hard enough to stop on his own on a QB sneak, never mind when they're pushing him.
Is inside linebackers coach Greg Manusky ever in a bad mood?
I thought you were going to say, is he crazy? But
is he ever in a bad mood?
He is never in a bad mood. He's never had a bad day. You cannot have enough guys like Greg Manusky on the staff. He's a former Viking player. He loves coming to this building every day. His players love him. And every now and then he'll stick his head in my office when I may or may not be in the best moods, or it's been a long week, and he finds a way to put a smile on your face. You just can't say enough about guys like that on your staff, what it means to your entire building to have a human being like Greg here.
Now you have superstars on this team, okay, no doubt about it. In Los Angeles, you had, when you won the Super Bowl, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Odell Beckham Jr. You had big personalities, get a lot of interviews and a lot of focus and stuff. I see it different here in that you have superstars, but the collective group, locker room after games, first class of planes with chains, it's nobody is the singular, it's a thy, not I approach to the way you guys do things. Do you think it's important?
I think it's important. I think it goes with everything we've tried to build since day one here. This is a team, and we are connected. We are led by some, the best part about our team is some of our best players are our best leaders. The example that Dalvin Cook sets, Patrick Peterson, Harrison Smith, guys that wear the C on their chest. But then we've got a lot of other guys. We had 22 players receive votes to be captains, and a lot of the guys that maybe didn't make that final 8, I told them point blank, hey, listen, 12 guys, 13 guys, 14 guys voted for you. So the responsibility that comes with that is you are a captain, you are a leader, you set the standard. This team is a player-led team. They love playing with one another. I do feel like when it gets tough, the best parts of this team come out, and that's how we're able to win these football games. And it's a credit to these players and their consistency and how they prepare, how they rely on each other, and then most importantly, how they enjoy those wins. I think that's something we talk about. How many times can we come back in this locker room and have this feeling, get on this airplane and have this feeling, and then know it's time to go back to work on Monday?
You were with Kirk in Washington. You've coached against Kirk, so even though you're an offensive guy, everybody knows where all the bones are buried in this league. And so therefore you've seen so much with Kirk. Is he truly making some of the best throws of his career this year?
I think he has. I mean, you just think back to whether it's being under pressure, free runners, on a pressure against the Commanders, and he's able to, lay that ball out to Justin when we had to have it. 4th and 18 makes a throw where Justin can only go get it.
KJ against the Lions?
KJ against the Lions. You think back.
Or the Cardinals.
You just think back to these throws that he's making, and it can be a cliche sometimes thrown around, be your best when it's required. But when your quarterback can consistently do those things in the big moments of games, it fuels everything you do. It fuels the routes people run. It fuels the way we block for them up front. The defense feels like, they know if number 8 if we can just give him one more chance, and our offense one more chance with that ball, they're going to go get it done. And then ultimately, I think just that momentum that having a quarterback like Kirk making those plays in the fourth quarter games, what it does for your team as you move forward through the season. You're never out of games, and you always feel like when that ball gets kicked off, there's no reason in the world why we're not going to win another one.
When he throws that interception to 30, Dane Jackson, and told me on my radio show this week that he thought it was Justin Jefferson, and that's that. I put my binoculars on him between series, and you got Mullins looking at the surface, and Kirk hands down on. I mean, he's down. He's dejected. Do you coach him up? Or mention something to him after moments like that, or let him work through it?
No, he's at this point in his career, he can work through it. But the big thing for me is the play caller. I just want him to know I totally understand what just happened, and it's not going to happen again, and you're going to move forward. And he made, really, when you look at that game, he made 2 mistakes, and both interceptions ended up being something where the defense was able to either hold for a field goal or try to help turn that momentum back. But what Kirk did every single time was responded with some of his best football when we needed it, and stats and all those things, yards, and this fantasy football world that we live in, PA, this still comes down to winning football games and making the plays required to win football games. And people can look at things a lot of different ways, but right now Kirk Cousins is 8-1, leading us on offense, leading our whole football team, and he's a huge reason for our success.
Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys, good defense. He's a handful, isn't he?
He is. I mean, he'll line up all over the place. He's off the ball backer. He's a rusher. They'll line him up inside. One of the premier players in our league, and really has established himself in consistently being an absolute game wrecker. We got to have a plan for him. But they've got some other guys on that defense that have long been a real problem. Tank Lawrence and some of these, Vander Esch is a really good linebacker. Anthony Barr, as Vikings fans know, a ton of experience and playmaking ability. So we've got to be really, really sharp. We got to be dialed in on a tight plan and carry over the best parts of our execution right back to US Bank Stadium in front of our fans. And that's the great thing, knowing we've got 5 out of the next 6 at home. Nothing like it. Cannot wait to get back there this Sunday.
Thank you. Good luck. Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings on X's and O's. DB's coach Durante Jones is next on the KFAN Minnesota Vikings Radio Network.